Hello, in this tutorial we want to talk about Prometheus. What is Prometheus? Why we have to use Prometheus and when we have to use Prometheus. Prometheus is a monitoring tool. It's a system that can monitor other infrastructure and application. And how it will monitor the other applications and infrastructure by collecting and storing the metrics. And it has an alerting system as well. So in general, Prometheus is an open source monitoring and alerting system. And the system means that it has application, database, and everything to run separately and independently for doing something. So the main purpose is monitoring the other systems by collecting and storing and analyzing the metrics. So let's explain it in more details by an example. First of all, let's say what is monitoring. For instance, we have a virtual private server here, and the private server has an operating system like Linux. It has a web server like Nginx or Apache, application and database. And this service is running, but we don't know what's happening in this system. What is the CPU usage of this system? What is the disk space available on this virtual private server? What is the amount of the memory is used? Or on the web server, what are the number of requests that is the web server is responding? What are the number of the responses with a status code of 200 or 400? Or on the database, what are the number of slow queries? What are the number of open connection? What are the size of the database at the moment? There are a lot of metrics that can be important for us. And we need to know these metrics to can decide is something happening very bad for the service or everything is running smoothly as expected. So the monitoring systems can help us to check all these metrics. For instance, I cannot check all of these metrics manually. Suppose that there are hundreds of these servers that I have and I want to manage them. So manual monitoring is impossible in these scenarios. And we need a service and a tool that can do this monitoring, checking these metrics for us. For instance, I can create a custom system. For instance, I can provide another server and install some scripts and application on it. And the responsibility of this service is just sending some requests on interval. Suppose that every 30 seconds sending a request to this service and asking the service for metrics. So in this case, I have to design this service and I have to write some scripts on this service that upon sending the request to this service, this script should collect the metrics from this system and expose them by a response to this system. So this system is my monitoring system. And for instance, if it send a request to /metrics, I have to write the script that can create a response like a JSON response and send the status of the CPU temperature, the CPU usage, or memory usage to the my monitoring system. So this is the whole idea of an automated monitoring system that I can have. And Prometheus is a tool that can do all this process for us without writing any line of code. Let it explain it in more detail. Suppose that, again, we have our virtual private server, for instance, is a Linux operating system, and it has a web server of Nginx and an application like Java and a database like the MySQL. And instead of a custom third-party service, I can install Prometheus on another server, so it can be called the Prometheus server. So the Prometheus server can be configured to send some requests on interval to my target, which is my virtual private server. And Prometheus is designed to send the HTTP request to my target. So here, the intervals all defined in the Prometheus, but here I want to collect the metrics and expose them to the Prometheus. I have to write some code to collect these metrics and print them and as a response in a format that Prometheus knows. So this process is time consuming. But Prometheus provides us a solution for exposing these metrics without writing a code. Prometheus created a lot of small applications that for any purpose we can choose one of them and install them on the target server, and that application can collect those metrics and expose them to Prometheus. For instance, I want to know some information and metrics about the operating system here. For example, I want to know the amount of CPU usage, the CPU temperature, the disk space of this instance. So instead of writing the code, I can choose one of the exporters or those small applications that were published by Prometheus. For instance, there is a small application which is published by Prometheus. Is called Node Exporter. I can install this application on my virtual private server simply, and upon installing this application, it will create an endpoint like /metrics. So upon sending an HTTP request to example.com/metrics, some metrics will be collected and printed as a response like this one. This is a text-based format that is created by Prometheus or defined by Prometheus. Prometheus invented this structure of exposing the metrics. So this response is very familiar with the Prometheus. Prometheus can extract data from it. For instance, it can scrape the CPU temperatures from these metrics and store them in the database. So again, on the interval, the Prometheus will send a request to the /metrics, and the node exporter will get the instant metrics from the node and will print out the metrics as a response. What we mean about the node here is the virtual private server, for instance. It can be a Linux operating system or whatever. So what if we want more information, not just about the virtual private server or the node? Suppose that I need more metrics about the Nginx. So again, Prometheus team has created exporter for Nginx as well. Some of the exporters are published officially by Prometheus team and others are provided by community. For instance, there is another small application named Nginx Exporter that is published by the community. Upon installing this application on this virtual private server, we can collect some metrics from the Nginx, and upon receiving the request to metrics again, some metrics about the Nginx will be added to this response. So by installing Node Exporter and Nginx Exporter, we have the metrics for both Node and also about the Nginx. For instance, the total requests with the status code of 200 and 400 are available here. And again, I can find and export my application. Fortunately, almost for any programming language, there is an exporter that we can use, or if we are curious and we want to be more specific, we can write our own exporter and install it on our service. And for instance, again, if I want to know more information about the metrics of my database, like the number of the connection threads, number of slow queries or whatever, I can again install one exporter, and the name is MySQL exporter. And upon installing this, again, new metrics will be added to /metrics. And because there is not enough room here, I just provided abstraction of the metrics that the MySQL exporter can provide, like the max connection, number of slow queries. All of these are available. So here we can see that Prometheus can help us to collect the information and metrics from the target, and also provide us the proper exporter. So without writing codes, we can just install some exporters and do some configuration, and the Prometheus will collect those metrics on an interval and store them on its own database. And this database is a special database, is not known databases like MySQL, MariaDB, or MongoDB. None of them is a time series database that is defined by the Prometheus, and a special one. So this is the main role of the Prometheus, which is collecting the metrics. But this is not the only usage of the Prometheus. Prometheus also have a feature of processing and filtering the metrics that we'll receive. And so upon saving the metrics in database, Prometheus will check those metrics, do some processing on those metrics. And here we can define some rules. And if those rules will pass the criteria on the data, the Prometheus can create an alert. For instance, suppose that I want to know if the CPU usage of this instance was more than 95% over 5 minutes, I want the Prometheus to create an alert. So this is the scenario that I can create a rule in Prometheus and tell the Prometheus, hey, if the CPU usage metric that you are collecting was more than 95%, just create an alert. And this alert is not a message. The Prometheus cannot send message to us. It's just an event that the Prometheus will create. But there is another module in Prometheus, and the name is Alert Manager. The alerts will be sent to Alert Manager, and in Alert Manager, we can define that this alert should be sent to where. For instance, we can configure it to send the alert as a message as SMS, as a email, or as a Discord message, a Slack message, or whatever. So we can configure the Prometheus to send us some alerts, and we can be notified about if a bad thing is happening in our system. So two main characteristics and responsibilities that the Prometheus have is collecting and storing data, and also generating alerts. And I have to mention that Prometheus is not a tool for visualizing the data. It's a tool for just collecting and storage. It's a warehouse for collecting time series data. And it has some limited functionality for visualizing the data, but it's not functional in my opinion. So we have to use other tools that can be connected to Prometheus and use the Prometheus database to visualize those data on the charts. And one of the most favorite and popular tools is the Grafana, and you have heard the name of Prometheus and the Grafana alongside each other a lot in the media, because both of the tools are very powerful and open source and have a huge community. So the Grafana can be connected to Prometheus, grab the data, and we can create a dashboard and visualization for checking these data. Okay, this is a quick introduction about the Prometheus, what it is capable of and what it can do for us for monitoring. In the next videos, we talk more about the Prometheus and how we can use them. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching.